Parents, pay attention. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 early warning signs that your child may be headed towards a life of debt and how you can stop it before it happens. I've worked with dozens of people who have been drowning in debt and helped most of them through it. And the thing I thought was the most interesting is all of this stuff was very avoidable if they would have learned these lessons when they were still teenagers. I'll break down each sign and share what I see in teens today, and give you practical steps to guide your child through financial confidence instead. Imagine your child graduating school, already knowing how to manage money, save automatically, and say no to impulse spending, while their friends are maxing out their credit cards. If we don't intervene early, your teen could become just another adult, stressed over bills, living paycheck to paycheck, and drowning in debt before 25. Let's stop that cycle. So, warning sign number 1 to look out for is every dollar burns a hole in their pocket. Basically, if you notice that anytime your child gets birthday money, chore money, allowance money, it's gone that same day or within those 24 hours, you should address it. I think an issue, I'll call it an issue. I think an issue that happens too much is parents see that and they'll be like, man, you should stop doing that. And that's the extent of the conversation. They say that, they give their child money again, the money disappears again. They give their child money again, the money disappears, and the cycle continues. There's never an honest heart-to-heart talk about, hey, this is what that could lead to. Here are the negative things that could happen. Here's what I did in my past, and this is why I'm in debt. I see this in you, and I don't want that for you. I think if we're more open and more clear with our children about these things, we could save them from struggling in life, in their adulthood. Teach them the purpose of money. Tell them about why every single dollar matters when they're budgeting. I think they get caught up too much, especially in this day and age with all these social media influencers. All they see online is all these kids who have everything they've ever wanted, all the cars, every single pair of shoes the day it comes out. And they believe that's what success is. That's what happiness is. So they're perfectly fine giving every dollar they have away as soon as they get it, so they can get that instant gratification and feel like, okay, yes, this means I made it. When in actuality, if they save their money, or at least save a percentage of their money, they'd reach true freedom and they could truly have whatever they wanted without it negatively affecting their future. So, warning sign number 2. Many teens think that credit cards are free money. They are not. And again, parents, this goes back to y'all. If your teen believes that having a credit card means you can just get whatever you want and pay it off later, that's your fault for the most part. Maybe it's not. No, I'm gonna just stick with that. Yeah, it's y'all's fault. Because they're going to not do what you say. They're going to do what they see you do. There's too many adults living off of credit, just swiping stuff, paying minimum balances, and thinking that's an okay way to live. If your child sees that, and then coupled with them never being talked to about money, that's what they're gonna think, is what they should do in life. So again, please be intentional. Show them your credit card. If you're in credit card debt, tell your kid. Sure, it's embarrassing, but it's your child. What are they gonna do? They're gonna go tell other parents, haha, my dad's in debt. That's stupid. Then they'll get made fun of because, anyways, tell your kids, do it so that you can help them out. If they know what it feels like because you show them the emotion that comes with being in debt and how hard it is to get out of it, they'll be more likely to avoid it in the future. And warning sign number 3 is the silence around money. That's a big red flag. If they just are afraid to talk about it, if they're afraid to talk about it now, they're going to be afraid to talk about it later. They're going to go into debt. They're going to keep it to themselves. They're not going to reach out for help. And they're just going to be content living that way. Again, this kind of hits on what the first 2 did. It's up to you guys as the parents to talk to your children about debt, about money, about credit, about all these things. Regardless if you've had great luck with it or terrible luck with it. Both of those lessons are very important to raise a well-rounded child who can experience financial success on their own. a good example I have is one of my best friends. His family never talked about money. I mean, mine didn't either, but his family never talked about money. They never talked about bills. They never talked about credit. They never talked about debt. He went off to college, went to a very expensive college, had all the college debt, got a couple credit cards while he was there, used those to pay for food and his livelihood while he was out there, just because they offer credit cards at colleges for whatever reason. And, now he has double the debt and no way to pay it off just because he's never been educated on it. He didn't know to avoid it. I just talked to one of my students at Mammoth Money Academy. You should go sign up in the link in the description. But I talked to one of my students at Mammoth Money Academy and I was telling him about interest rates. And I was like, yeah, no, most of these are, they go up to like 29. Some even get into 30s, depending on what type of card it is. And then he was like, what? There's really credit cards that, have 20% interest? I was like, sir, yes, majority of them have more than 20% interest. That he's like, that's crazy. I'm like, yes, it is crazy. I'm glad we're having this conversation so you know how crazy it is. Credit's crazy, interest rates crazy, and debt is really crazy. Talk to these kids about this stuff. And that was a pretty financially literate kid. He just had no idea because it's just never been talked about. So, in closing, your child doesn't have to struggle with finances just because you did, or just because no one taught them. These warning signs should be a wake-up call. But the good news is they can be taught, they can be coached, they can be supported even after debt is started. A great way to do this, if you don't want to do it yourself, or even if you want to do it yourself but you'd like some support, is to sign them up for Mammoth Money Academy. In Mammoth Money Academy, we go over banking, we go over credit cards, we go over debt, interest rate traps, how to build your credit score, just a medley of amazing things that I think would help. So if you are interested, you can watch our free video and apply in the description. Thanks for watching.